This sequence focuses on the middle part of the body. In the West, we call the core, the front part of the body, typically. But in yoga, it's the full circumference of this area, the front, the sides, the back body. We'll also work on the hips. Let's begin. As you come to a standing position, check your foundation. Spread your toes to root down to the earth very fully. Inhale, take your arms up. Exhale, lower yourself down. You can bend your knees to place your hands by your ankles and take your right leg back. Take your right knee down. Your left knee is right over the ankle, and the right hip is right over the knee. Take your arms in this cactus pose, and with your fingers spread, open your chest nicely. Twist yourself so that you can drop your right elbow down toward your knee and up. And let's do that again. Draw the elbow down to the knee and lift up. One more time, draw your elbow down to the knee and lift up. Take your hands back to the mat. Step to a plank position or all fours position, your choice. Have a strong, steady feeling in the arms as you draw your heart forward and lower yourself slowly to the mat. On the in-breath, lift your chest, reach your heart forward. Exhale, soften down. Now place your hands reaching back as your hands are drawing back toward your feet. Bend your elbows, press your hands down with the fingers spread. Inhale, lift yourself up. Exhale, soften. Two more. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, soften. One more time, as if you're drawing your fingertips toward your heart. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, soften. Come to all fours position or downward facing dog. And make your way to the front of the mat very slowly. Or you can hop your way to the front of the mat. Place your hands to your low back and rise up. Reach your hands up to the sky. With hands wide apart, reach your gaze up, reach your hands back. Exhale, take your hands to the earth alongside your ankles. Take your left leg back. Take your knee down to the mat and lift yourself up. Come to that cactus pose again so the elbows are lined up with the shoulders. Twist, turn toward the bent right leg and draw your elbow down and lift up two more times. Keep the fingers spread. Keep the elbows pretty much at the height of the shoulders when you lift up. One last time. Draw down and lift up. Come back to the center position. Place your hands down. Step to either that puppy dog pose or downward facing dog, just as a transition here. Breathe in fully. Breathe out long. And make your way up to the front of the mat. Place your hands to your low back. Hug your elbows in and lift yourself up. Reach up to the sky again. Reach way back. Exhale, come to the earth. Bend your knees, place your hands, and step to a plank position or all fours. Lower yourself down. Once you're on the mat, inhale, reach your heart forward. Exhale and soften. This time, spread your wings. Reach your hands straight to the side. with a slight bend to the elbow, just like we did in our last version of Shalambhasana. With your hands pressing on the floor, pull the hands in toward the heart. Inhale, lift yourself up. Exhale and soften. 2 more cycles. Inhale, see if you can get your back muscles to get a little bit stronger and rise up. Exhale and soften. And one more time. Inhale, lift yourself up. Exhale and soften. Place your hands alongside your ribs again. Lift yourself back to come to downward facing dog or puppy dog pose and pause there. Receive a nice in breath and out breath through the nose. Nice softness to your facial muscles. Let's all meet in all fours position on the mat. I'll just change position just so that I can be seen here. And as you come to all fours position, reach your right leg straight back and in the air. Spread your toes nicely. Draw your right foot to your right side and just pulse. Lift it forward toward your face just slightly 3 times. And reach it back. Now cross it over, cross the leg to the outer side of the left foot there. Tuck your toes under and just draw your pelvis back. So this is a nice way to really open the hips a lot. Draw the pelvis back as if you're trying to draw your pelvis right to your back foot there. And come back to the center position. Release your right knee down. Now open up on the opposite side. So reach your left leg back. Balance yourself as you take your left hand off the earth and you turn to open up on this side. One leg lifted, one arm lifted, and you're reaching over. And come back. Keep your back foot lifted. Reach your arm over your head. And inhale, lift your arm up again. Really open up. And reach your arm over your head as you keep your back leg lifted. And lift your arm up. Right, come back to all fours position. Reach your left foot to the left side. And draw it forward again, pulse it. Left foot reaches toward your face and back. And left foot reaches toward your face and back. And reaches toward your face to open the pelvis. Reach it back. Now cross it over. Cross it way over. Tuck your toes under. And draw your pelvis back as if you're trying to sit on your right foot as your left foot is crossed over. So this outer IT band area here gets a nice opening as you do that. And come back to the center position. Release your foot down. Now the right leg lifts up. The right arm lifts up, so you open up nicely, and I'll give you the side view of that here. So you open up nicely. Keep this nice fullness here. Keep the back leg lifted. Reach over so you're balancing here. And get a nice length and lift up. And reach over just to stretch through the side body. And lift up. And one more time, reach over and lift up and release your hand down. So come to downward facing dog or child's pose, whichever you wish. So, the core, we often think of like six pack abs, when we think of the core. But of course, in yoga, that core extends through the side body. So, we're working on the core in those last poses to strengthen the side body. And the cobra pose and the shalambhasana was working on the back side of the body. So this is all part of the core. It's the full circumference. It's not only in the West where we just think of the core as these front muscles. In yoga, it's considered that full circumference. So come from either downward facing dog or child's pose to find your way to the front of the mat. Place your hands to the low back and rise up. Inhale, reach your arms up again and back. Exhale, come to the earth with your hands placed right by your feet. Step your way to a plank position or all fours. Lower yourself all the way down. Now, with your hands forward, with your hands pretty wide apart, just on fingertip top position, press your hands down. Draw your forehead down. I'm going to keep my forehead slightly lifted, otherwise the sound gets really wonky. So with your hands pressing, with your forehead pressing, lift your feet up. And exhale, take your feet down. We'll do this 2 more times. Inhale, lift your feet up. Exhale, draw down. 1 more. Inhale, lift your feet up. Exhale, down. Place your hands right alongside your ribs. Come up to all fours position. And the same thing that we just did with your hands in all fours position, your knees hip distance apart. Reach your right leg straight back. And as you reach your right leg straight back, now draw it to the side and pulse 3 times. Draw it up toward your face. Reach it up. 3rd time, reach it up and reach it back. Cross over. And as you cross the foot to the outer left side, just draw your pelvis way back as if you're trying to sit on your left heel. Get a nice stretch in the pelvic area there. And slowly come back to settle the right foot and right knee just where it was in all fours position. Now open up the opposite side, the left side. So reach your left foot back. Balance yourself as you take your left hand off the earth and you create this nice fullness here in the pose. You open up nicely. You draw your arm over. And one little tip I like is you draw your arm over, you can take your foot down, the left foot down, so you get this nice fullness there, and lift up. And it's your choice. You can just kind of choose what works for you to develop a little bit more strength here to the side body. And strength allows this nice length that we're working with. 3rd time, just reach your arm over and up and release down. Let's come to the other side. So take your left foot back and in the air, reach your left foot to the side and just reach the foot just as far forward as possible in 3 different pulsations. Reach it forward and back. Reach it forward and back, and forward and back, and cross the foot over the right foot as you park the left foot down. Draw your pelvis back. Get this nice fullness here as you do that. And Slowly make your way out of the pose to park your left knee down, but lift the right leg back and back up. Lift your right arm up again. You open up nicely. First, just find your balance. The balance alone is just nice core work here. You can move your leg if you wish. You can certainly move your arm to give you length and lift up. We'll do 3 cycles of this. Reach up and over, just to give you a little bit of space with this nice strength that we work on. Reach over and rise up and reach over and rise up. Release your hand down. Come through all fours position to downward facing dog, or some way to make your way to the front of the mat. And as you do, come to Tadasana. Just pause here. So we've worked on opening the pelvic area, getting a little strength to the side body, and especially the back body. Now let's apply those tools that we just got in a nice opening pose here. So as you step wide, turn your right toes out and bend your right knee. Sweep your arms up to come to Virabhadrasana 2 just for a moment before taking your right elbow down to the thigh, down to the top of the thigh. Reach your left arm over your head. Just get this nice fullness and uttitha parsvakonasana. Just enjoy your breath and open up, root down. As you rise up, lift yourself all the way up and come to the opposite side. First to Virabhadrasana number 2. Look at your feet. First, make sure you've got this nice line up of the front heel to the back arch before coming to Virabhadrasana number 2. Keep the chest nice and open. Draw your forearm down and sweep your upper arm over your head. Just get this nice fullness here in the pose, this fullness to the side body. In the same way that we were just working the arm over the head as we were balancing ourselves on our knees. Now, as you root down through the back leg and rise up, now let's try that in a balanced pose on our feet. So before we do, you may want to use a block. So we'll just keep a block alongside us in case that would be useful, because we'll be standing on one leg, just like we were on one knee before. With one lifted leg, we'll be standing on one foot. So inhale, lift your arms up. Virabhadrasana number 2 first, before coming to uttitha parsvakonasana, this side angle pose, which we prepared for in our opening sequence there. Just get this nice length. And now look down. Take your lifted arm to your waist. And with your left hand to the waist, take your right hand either to the floor or your block. Step in with your back foot before lifting your back leg up. So as you come to a balanced pose here, keep your standing leg nice and strong. If you want to free your lifted left hand, feel free to do that. And in the same way that we were doing on our knees, reach your arm up and over your head. Just get this length through the side body. And take it way back up. Do this again. Reach it over your head as if you're trying to tap it down toward the floor. And lift your arm up. And a third time, arm draws over your head and lift up. I always find the tricky thing is to come out of this pose with grace. So let's try that. Take your lifted arm to your waist, look down to the floor. And as you look toward your right foot, see if you can line up your left foot with the right foot. So you've got this nice line up, and inhale, lift yourself up out of the pose. Exhale, release your hands down. Let's come to the opposite side here. As you prepare yourself, you may want to use the block or not, just have it ready for you. So as you come to the pose, first you want to make sure the lineup is looking good before lifting your arms up to come to Virabhadrasana number 2. Get this feeling of strength in your legs, this feeling of drawing in from the back foot to the front foot gives you this feeling of power. You get the engagement of the inner thighs so nicely. From here, draw your forearm down and come to uttitha parsvakonasana, this nice wide stance in the side body stretch. Look down at the floor. Take your lifted arm to your waist and take your left hand to the floor or to the block, your choice here. Step your back foot forward. And before lifting off, make sure your left hand is rooted down so that you can balance yourself here as you lift up. You can create the fullness of the pose, ardha chandrasana, as you keep your back leg lifted, your right arm lifted. Draw your arm over your head to get this nice length. And lift it back up. Again, reach over and lift up and reach over and lift up. And again, coming out of the pose gracefully is perhaps the very challenging aspect of this. So look at your foot, your standing left foot. As you bend your knee, see if you can line up your back foot with your front foot before rooting down through the back foot to lift yourself up out of the pose. Release your hands and come to a seated position. And in the seated position, with your feet forward, just pause here for a moment with your knees bent, your feet forward. Take your hands back so that you can open your chest really nicely. Have your feet hip distance apart to begin with. Now turn your fingers so that the fingers are directed in the direction of your toes. Bend your elbows. Pull your hands in toward each other. Pull your elbows in toward each other and lift your heart. This is an expression of true freedom, true openness in the heart area. So we were just working on length to the side body. And we'll keep that in mind, keep the strength of the back body in mind as we step our hands back slightly. See if we can find freedom with fullness in this pose here. As you bend your elbows again, same actions. Press the base of the index finger down, pull the elbows in, get a nice lift of your heart. Now lift your pelvis up. Just get nice fullness here in the pose. Nice lift of the pose. Press down through the base of the index fingers as you lift up. And slowly release your pelvis down. See about lifting your feet up. And just a balance there. You can hold on to the backs of the thighs if you wish. Try to keep that nice openness to the chest. Maybe you can have your arms free. Maybe you can drop down a little bit and straighten your legs and lift up. And again, come towards straight legs and lift up and release your feet down to the mat. Have your feet in badddha konasana with your feet together, with your hands right at your shin bones. Pull the shin bones in toward each other. Get this nice openness to the chest and draw your heart forward. And inhale, lift yourself up. So the legs are still working, so the inner thigh muscles are very engaged. You're actually like a clamshell, just trying to get the knees to open, to draw in toward each other so that you get more inner thigh strength as you come forward on your sit bones, and that allows you to go a little bit deeper in your pose here as you draw down. Keep your feet really active and pressing in toward each other. And inhale, rise up. Take your feet nice and wide apart. And with your feet nice and wide apart, with your feet parallel to each other, draw your knees over toward your right side and swing your left arm around so that you're coming into this full twist. And just bow forward. Your hands are nice and wide apart, fingertip top position. And now tuck your back toes under to get the inner thigh lifted. And you have a straight back leg as you're just getting a little bit more opening in the pelvic area here as you draw down. And inhale, lift yourself up. Plant your feet again with your knees lifted. And draw your knees to the opposite side. Swing your right arm around. And same thing, almost like you're doing a push-up with your fingertip tops pressing with the hands wider than shoulder width apart. Draw your heart down and extend your back legs. So you tuck your back toes under and you just draw your heart down. Keep your back knee lifted with all toes tucked under. Find strength in the back leg there as you let your heart soften down. You might feel a little opening here in the left pelvic area as you soften. And inhale, lift yourself up and come back to that seated position we were in. So with the knees bent, with all this length that you get from the twisting action, with your hands directed toward your feet and your hands wider than shoulder width apart, bend your elbows, hug your elbows in so you get a nice lift to the upper chest and press the base of the index finger down as you claw the mat with the fingertip tops. Inhale, lift your pelvis up. And just get this nice fullness to the upper chest here. Even as you lift your belly a little bit more and release your pelvis down, lie on your back. And as you lie on your back, bend your knees. Draw your right knee in toward your chest. Just pause there. Reach your left leg straight. Take your left hand to the outer right knee and twist. Just draw the knee over and to the side. And open up the right side body even more by reaching your right arm over your head. Twisting actions are a wonderful way to just kind of explore that freedom with the action. So as you allow your breath to expand the right side ribs more, see how the exhale breath can take you a little bit deeper into the twist. And release yourself out of the pose as you bend both knees and pause. Draw your left knee in and just give it a nice hug in before reaching your right leg straight. Take your right hand to the outer left knee and twist. Just draw the knee over to the side as you get this nice opening to the chest. And for even more length to the left side, you can take your arm over your head. And come back to bent knee position with your feet very firmly planted. With your feet planted, draw your heels in toward your pelvis. And just notice how that gives you a really nice curve to the low back. Press your elbows down and lift your pelvis up off the mat. Keep a nice fullness there. A nice engagement of the feet pulling in now toward the heart. Press your head back. And now slowly take your pelvis down to the mat. Once your pelvis is on the mat, take your feet up off the mat and take your arms in a cactus pose. So with your feet off the mat, take your shins parallel to the mat. Hug your knees in. So we'll continue to just get this nice engagement of the back, the side, and the front muscles in this area. As you just take your right toe down toward the earth, you might want to even tap it to the earth before lifting it up. And do that again. Right toes come down toward the earth, tap it, and lift up. You're just keeping your shin bones in this parallel position with a nice arch to the back. 3 more times. Tap the right foot down and lift it up. And tap down and lift it up. And tap down and up. And opposite, left foot taps down and lifts up. And down and up. 3 more. Down and up and down and up and down and up and down and up, and press your feet back to the mat. Press your elbows to the mat with your elbows pressing down before lifting your pelvis. Lift your chest really nicely. Now lift your pelvis up. Keep your feet pulling in toward your heart. Get this nice fullness to the front side of the body. You can stay here, or if you have a block and you would like to come to sarvangasana, you can lift your feet up with your pelvis supported. So your choice. You can stay in this bridge variation. Either one gives you just a nice opening of the upper chest. So pause in whichever pose you chose. Explore how your breath can continue to open the upper chest. And you can come out of the pose whenever you wish to come to Shavasana. So as you make your way out of the pose, or even stay in the pose a little bit longer, you can begin to soften your breath and settle in. Just hear the sound of your breath. Make it full and long. Shavasana is your time to just assimilate the actions that we did in the practice. The actions of opening the hips, strengthening the sides of the body before lengthening the sides of the body, strengthening the back muscles, balancing, and finally strengthening the front of the body, front muscles. In yoga, we do these things in a very organized way. And through this organized method and sequence, we're able to find freedom. As you assimilate the actions of your practice, as you attune to your breath, Begin to create a little bit more fullness to the breath. A little bit more alertness to your surroundings. And as you bend your knees and plant your feet, you begin to engage your legs with your feet planted. Take your arms up and over your head to once again just feel this nice length that we worked on. From the pelvis to the armpit, you get this nice fullness. Draw over to one side and just pause there. Stay in the pause here in the fetal position. And when you're ready, lift yourself up to come to a seated pose. In your seated pose, sit tall. Place your hands right in front of your heart. Do that freedom that the yoga brings to us. We bow. Namaste.